Hello, everyone. Welcome to Alchemy IAS, the high five of the day. The most important five current affair topics. Through this program, we will brief you the relevant topic that we have to study for the UPSC examination, both for the prelims and the mains examination. Now, let's start with the first topic. The major important topic that has been discussed in the today's news was with respect to this particular topic, the Supreme Court observations regarding the governor power with respect to giving assent to the bill passed by the state legislature. This particular issue was recently in the news in the context of the presidential reference as part of the advisory jurisdiction. The President of India has given this reference to the Supreme Court to examine because earlier the Supreme Court had made a judgment in this Tamil Nadu case. The governor of the Tamil Nadu was in many bill has been passed by the state legislature. In these bill were pending before the governor office and Raj Bhavan. So Raj Bhavan was not ready to sign in certain bill. Again, this blockage and this Tamil Nadu government has challenged this case before the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court examined this case and delivered a judgment by using Article 142 and has fixed certain time limit for including 1 month for giving assent to the bill and giving reserving certain bill for the consideration president within 3 months. This time limit has been fixed by the Supreme Court through the judgment, since it has not been mentioned under the Article 200 of Indian Constitution, that is dealing with the governor power with respect to the bill passed by the state legislature. Later, the President of India has given this reference to Supreme Court, and now the Supreme Court judge, the Supreme Court constitutional bench, the five judges were examining this particular case. The latest update that we got today was these constitutional bench, while they were examining this case, has said that and observed that the governor cannot delay the bill, the ascending certain bill, which has already been passed by the state legislature. In this context, for exam perspective, what are the points that we have to note it down? Especially this topic is relevant for our upcoming mains examination. In such cases, this issue need to be highlighted. In that particular case, we should remember the Article 200, that is dealing with its power of the governor giving assent to the bill passed by state legislature. The Supreme Court observation that it cannot delay unnecessarily indefinitely, since it has been provided under the constitution to ensure a cooperative federalism, not to make any blockage. And state government also argued in multiple cases that indefinitely governor and governor some states, especially we have seen in the case of instance of the Kerala states, Tamil Nadu state, West Bengal states. In these states, governor of these states has like delayed giving assent to certain bills, and then in some cases has been criticized that this has been because of the political motive. Mostly, it has affected the government, which we have the opposition party ruled states against the central ruling party. That is also the reason that there is some political concern has been discussed about this particular issue. The way forward, whenever we write an answer with respect to this particular topic in our examinations, we have to note down the way forward. How can we tackle this particular challenge? The way forward is that the Supreme Court must interpret this particular Article 200 in a better way as per the constitutional principles and morality. In this case also, you can also take this as an example when we study about the separation of power. Yes, every government we have a separation of power where we have the branches like legislature and the executive and the judiciary to evaluate the law enacted by the legislature and executed by the government executive. In India, our separation of power is not rigid or strict. Rather, we have functional overlapping between these three branches. The legislature here, in particular this case, we have the state legislature. When they pass a bill, and the bill will be sending into or forwarding into the office of the governor, and the governor of the concerned state under Article 200 has a power to give assent, withhold, return, or reserve the bill for the consideration of president. But in most cases, since this Article 200 has not mentioned the time limit within which the governor should sign, so governor, before giving assent or taking a decision in this particular case, they usually delayed giving assent to this bill. That's the reason that later the Tamil Nadu government has challenged a case before the court, Supreme Court, and Supreme Court made a judgment. So judiciary is there whenever any misuse of this executive legislature that can be checked and examined by the judiciary. So now the Supreme Court in this constitutional bench examination has considered the conflict of the separation of power. So judiciary cannot overreach into the power of the executive and cannot overreach to the power of the legislature. But Supreme Court has the power to review these acts and to prevent the misuse and to uphold constitutional morality. Especially in this context also, the Supreme Court can make a reasonable time framework for the governor office in order to give assent to the certain bills. And governor can also act as per the constitutional principle and must uphold the constitutional morality. The constitutional morality means adherence to the principles of the constitution. Here, the actions of the governor should not create into a friction between the center and the state, and it should not undermine the authority of the power that is derived from the people in a democratic government. So these constitutional morality must be upheld. So these kind of keyword that we can use in our mains examination. And ultimately the objective is to ensure a cooperative federalism rather than a confrontational relation between the sender and the states. So this sender-state relation can also be included in our mains examination. For the prelims examination, if you're targeting to give another exam in the next year, please note it down that Article 200, Article 201. Article 200 already we have understood now. Article 201 is also another article dealing with that. Whenever any bill has been reserved by the governor for the consideration of president, president can act as according to the Article 201 with respect to state legislative bills. That's the reason that Article 201 is also important, and you have to remember the Article 143 that is dealing with the advisory jurisdiction of the president. Here in this particular case, the President of India has recently referred to the Supreme Court through the advisory jurisdictions. And similarly, you can also refer to the commissions like Sarkari Commission and Punji Commission. These are the commission were in multiple contests, and we can use these references. These commissions were appointed by the government in order to improve the center-state relation, and both committee recommended for avoiding this conflict and promoting cooperative federalism, including Punji's commission recommendation of the governor must sign within 6 months. The next topic that we have for today is a disaster related news that is happened in Afghanistan. An earthquake has strike in Afghanistan regions. So earthquake topic is an important topic in our geography, and how do we manage this particular disaster events? So disaster management is also part of our syllabus. So by integrating both geographical phenomena related to earthquakes and how do we manage the disaster, and if any major disaster mentioned in the news, UPSC sometime can ask questions either in the prelims examination or in the mains examination. Now the case study, the latest news that we have with respect to Afghanistan, the earthquake. So first, the important thing that we have to note down that this location of the earthquake that we have uh, identified in the recent days, that is the place located in Afghanistan. This places in news, sometimes places in news can be asked in the prelims examination due to the major disaster events. Here, Jalalabad is a place as mostly affected due to this earthquake, and this is located in the eastern part of the northeastern part of the Afghanistan. And also this location is sharing a border with Pakistan, and this region has been affected. So the magnitude is the most powerful earthquake has been like reported. It has magnitude of 6.0 earthquake struck. So it has resulted into a severe damage. Around 1400 people were killed in this particular disaster. The country like India, including India, has airlifted its disaster assistance to the Afghanistan, and UN also want the global community to give assistance support to the people of Afghanistan. When we study about this particular topic, we also have to connect with the geographical phenomena. Why Afghanistan experience the frequent these kind of disasters? And when we study why Afghanistan, like why this kind of earthquake happening in Afghanistan, the reason behind is that the three important the plates that we have. We know that the Earth at the surface level, we know that the skin of the Earth is like the tectonics, and we have many tectonic boundaries, and they are moving the backward and forwards. And during this movement of the tectonic plates, and sometimes it will collide with another one. So either through the convergence or will be the sliding or it can be the divergence. In this case of Afghanistan, we have to understand the location, geographical location, the geomorphological relations in this particular context. So we have here the map of Afghanistan. I also will be suggesting you to refer to this map. Here we have three plate. One is Arabic plate and the Indian plate. Both the plate is moving towards the Eurasian plate. That is the third plate we have. So when this Indian plate and Arabic plates, particularly Indian plate, which is moving towards the Eurasian plate, when they converge together, we experience the earthquake in this region of the Hindu Kush mountains of Afghanistan. And another reason that and this region is most prone to the seismic these disaster situations or like earthquake, and in this region they don't have the preparedness for the disaster event because of the low preparedness for the disaster situations that has adversely negatively has affected the people living in this region. That's the reason that we have seen the major casualty in this particular location of the Afghanistan in the Jalalabad. So please locate the map for our mains examination and the prelims examination. And it can be given, Afghanistan case can also be given as a case study where mismanagement or loss of or low preparedness would resulting into a high casualty in case of disaster situation. Now coming back to the next topic that we have, that is related to the climate change, conservation, environment, ecology syllabus. That was a news related to the upcoming the UNFCCC COP30 summits. In this particular contest, for an aspirant, as an aspirant, we have to take some notes. The takeaways that we have to take is related to where is going to be this COP30 is going to be held, the location. So COP30 of the UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention for Climate Change, on climate change, the next summit is going to be held in Belgium in Brazil. Belgium in Brazil. So this location is also important. And the first COP summit started in 1995 was held in Berlin in Germany. And this is going to be the 30th summit of this UNFCCC conference of parties. And India is also party to this. And this had a lot of commitment for addressing the climate challenge. The major initiative that has been taken by our COP summit, that was in the 2015, that was the agreements majorly popularly known as the Paris agreements. In this agreement, all the member countries were agreed to make our global temperature that is rising below, like in order to degrees, and we have to achieve the target that is 1.5 degrees Celsius. So we know that because of the climate change and many island countries are vulnerable and we experience this kind of frequent disasters, and without this commitment and action we may not be able to survive in this planet. So mostly in many of the scope summit that we had previously till all these 29 summits, most of the summits we were mostly coming up with more new proposals, and we were ignoring or giving less importance for the actions. So now the COP30 summits, the member countries, including the president, is making a statement that our focus would be on addressing the promises that we have made in the past rather than again making new promises. So it will be more based on the action. That's also we can connect with these the French person, the French lady, the Greta Gutenberg, through the agitations and protest of the Friday for Future. So the major concern that the people had that the less action in the UNFCCC commitments. So now the UNFCCC through the COP30 is expected to have more action oriented approach in addressing the climate change. So this topic was mentioned in the news, and in this context also, I would advise you please also go through these India's commitments, including net zero by 2017. India has pledged the Panchamrit goals in COP26 summits. So India's commitment towards climate change is also relevant in this particular context. Moving on to the next topic that we have, that is related to the space science, science and technology. As part of India's semiconductor mission, so that is the new development process that we are moving towards, especially in the age of digital phases. Since 2022 onwards, India is conducting the semicon conference in order to promote semiconductor industries and development and to make India a self-reliant in the semiconductor industry. So recently, in this year, the Semicon India 2025 was held. In these summits, the first indigenous Vikram 32, a processor chip, has been received to the Prime Minister. So this has been developed by Indian ourselves as an indigenous chips. So this can store a lot of data within a tiny nano technology. This is an advancement of the technology. The name given for this chip is very important for our prelims examination. The name given for this chip is Vikram 32-bit. Currently in the space technology, especially for the launching vehicle, we are using some foreign chip that is around, it has around 16-bit version, which is not an advanced version. So with this advanced system, we can even have the precision in launching the vehicle and can also like reach at the target by managing and controlling through this technology. And by using this semiconductor, the technology that we have indigenously developed this system, and that is why this particular news is relevant for our current affairs perspective for the prelims and the most for the mains perspective as well. So this chip has been developed by the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center in collaboration with the Semiconductor Laboratory of the Chandigarh. So ISRO in collaboration with this laboratory has developed this semiconductor and has given a name. So something question can be like Vikram 32 is used for. So this kind of question can be expected. And the significance, it is advancements in the technology, and that is a part of our Atmanirbhar Bharat. So these were the relevance of this topic. Now moving on to the next topic that we have, the last topic. It is based on the editorial has been discussed in the Hindu newspaper today. So the context of this editorial, the highlight of this editorial has been considered the recent appointment of the judges to the Supreme Court. When we consider the 75 years of India's independence and now the 75 years of the enactment of the constitution, since 1950, now we consider 2025, almost around, according to this data given in this particular editorial. So we have a gender imbalance, a gender gap in the appointment of judges to the Supreme Court. The editorial is illustrated with some data and some documents, some illustrated with the some data that we have. Since 1950, only 11 women were appointed as the judges of Supreme Court out of the 287. So in this particular context, this data that we are getting from the newspaper, this data that we are getting from the newspaper can be used. So according to this data given in this particular newspaper, that we can say that this data shows that total of since 1950, 3.8 percentage were only women judges appointed to the Supreme Court, and remaining all these 96.2 percentage were the male. So there is a huge gender gap, a gender imbalance in our judicial appointments that would also resulting into the perspective that a judge should have. So when we have inclusivity in the appointment of judges, and when they have this perspective of inclusivity, addressing the challenges and making the justice and delivering the justice in a fair manner, where it has a major role. And currently also out of the 34 judges, we have only one person is the only single woman, Nagratna. So judges, the Justice Nagratna is the only woman currently that we have in the Supreme Court. This is a serious concern that we can also expect a questions either in the mains examinations. Next is because of the some other issues has been mentioned in these articles that is related to caste and religious diversity. No, even SC and ST women were appointed judges. Exception is one from a minority, and even from one only one woman, Justice Indu Malhotra, were elevated directly from the bar, and other versus against 9 men. And in this particular context, we can also add some more relevance challenges regarding the appointments. We know that current system that we follow for the judges appointment is the collegiate system, and it has many criticism, including the lack of transparency and disclosing the criteria has been followed for appointing judges. And second is we don't have a gender policy related to appointing judges in different segments, in different sections. So no gender policy in current appointment is also another challenge that we have. And sometimes bypassing the seniority instead of hiring the senior women judges of the High Court, Sometimes the collegium or the appointment has been mostly preferred for the male member or male judges. So these are the concern and challenge that we have. The way forward for is that so we can also include in our main answer like institutionalizing the gender diversity through the policy enactments and enhancing the transparency, including the appointment through the collegium system. And we can also promote women early. There are more women in High Court, and in order to widen the pool of women coming into the judicial offices and value the diversity when we have different sections recruited to the Supreme Court and High Court. When we have this inclusivity and diversity, our justice system would have that different multi perspective to deliver a fair justice, and that can directly or indirectly benefit, and we can enjoy the constitutional rights and the constitutional safeguards, the safeguard in the constitution and its rights. The Supreme Court can also expand its role in protecting our fundamental rights. With this, we can conclude all these topics that we have discussed today. And finally, we have one question here that is based on the first topic related to the governor power of ascending the bill passed by the state legislature. So, question here, which is prelims based, which article empowers the president to deal with the bill reserved by the governor? So, which article of Indian Constitution is deal with the power that is with respect to president? The president has this power whenever any bill has been reserved by the governor of the concerned states. So, when the state legislature of the states pass a bill, and the bill will go to the office of the governor, when certain conflict is there, including uh, uh, constitutional provision is in conflict in such cases, the governor has this power to reserve this bill for the consideration of president. Which of the following article is dealing with this particular power that the president enjoy in dealing with a bill has been reserved by the governor for its consideration or consideration? So which one of the following is the answer? You can give the answer in the comment section. With that, I'm ending the today's session. I hope it has benefited you and it helped you to enrich your content for the UPSC prelims and mains preparation. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Welcome back.